What's going on, guys? Mike Tierney here from Princess Auto. Welcome to Tech Tips with Mike T. We're talking about electric heaters. So you've decided that you're looking for maybe an electric heater versus a fossil fuel heater. So lots of options, but again, it depends on your space. Now, heaters in the electric form are typically rated for their wattage output. Now, there are conversions to kind of compare apples to apples when it comes to BTU ratings, and it's just a simple formula. What you're really looking for is, can that heater be sufficient for heating that space that you're looking at? Now, it might just be taking the edge off. It might be just you're at a workbench and you just want to have a little bit of direct heat over you. Now, all of these models will have fans in them, and some of the models will need to be plugged into a 120 outlet. Some of them need to be plugged into a 240 application. So when it comes to your wiring in your space, you got to make sure that you have the right plugs for the plug ends. Now, some of the heaters don't have a plug end. So in this case, this red construction heater, it has its plug end. But the white unit here, it doesn't. So it has to be directly wired into the system. So it has a junction box inside. But again, be mindful, electricians should be doing this. This is high power now, and you don't want to be messing around with 240, 220, those high voltage applications. So selecting the unit will all depend on what you're doing with it. Do you want to mount it kind of up over a bench that you can control the pitch of it, not just by the louvers on the front, but a handle that you can move back and forth? Do you want to just have it sitting on a bench that you plug into? These are quite common for applications that are up in the garage above, say, where your garage door comes. You can install a plug in the ceiling, plug directly up in there. These do have a built-in thermostat, so you don't have to wire up a thermostat. You can just set them and go, and they'll kick in, kick out as required. Some of the units will also have on the handle a hole through it. This unit doesn't, but that doesn't mean that you can't rig it up. If you take a piece of threaded rod, or ready rod as it's called, just drill a hole through a rafter, take a couple of washers and some bolts. You can bolt that through, and then you can suspend that how high or how low, just keeping in mind clearances, vehicles and doors coming in. And then you can actually mount that suspended in your garage if you you choose to. So lots of options. Drywalling applications. Lots of drywallers buy these, or contractors buy these. You do really have to be careful, because typically if you're doing a renovation in a house, you're drywalling, the plugs are probably not going to be 240 volts, and a lot of times the intent is to cut the end of the plug off and then go directly wire. That's really not suggested, but in some cases you have to do that. You can hardwire these in as well, but for the most part, adjusting these can cause some issues. Drywall dust on elements. So it doesn't matter what element we're talking about. The element is the coil that heats up. As you get dust, specifically drywall dust, that bakes onto that element and it starts to deteriorate these heaters very quickly. So just be mindful of the activities that you are using them in. Sometimes you don't have an option. It's just how it is, and you just got to be careful on the amount of dust. If you do have these in your garage and you've got a dusty situation, maybe you don't have a cement floor, just give them a blow off every now and again. That way dust doesn't build up. In some cases they may catch fire, depending if it's say dust from woodworking and that kind of stuff. You just got to really be mindful of keeping some maintenance, just blowing them off every now and again, keeping them clean. Now, various models come in different voltages. So, why is some models in a 110 or 120 plug outlet, and why are some in the 240? Well, the higher the wattage output, the higher the voltage you're going to need, because of mathematics and physics. So in order to get higher voltage or higher wattage out of your heater to get to those high 7,000 watts, you need to increase your voltage so that your amperage supply comes down. But again, you're still going to be running on these larger units, 20, 30, 40 amp systems. So make sure that you have that power available before you go and buy, and then all of a sudden now the cost of installing all of that goes up. Maybe this isn't the right heater for that. Maybe you go to something more in the fossil fuel side if you choose to heat that space. So you got lots of options. A unit like our black unit here, this square unit, it's facing you right now, but it actually would face and be mounted directly up in the ceiling. So again, the wiring on it will definitely be there. Then you go to a thermostat that comes with it, and the thermostat can be mounted on the wall, and then you can control your heat settings from there. So this is more of a flush mount in the ceiling unit. If it's space heater styles you want, so inside your, maybe your little office or, in the living room, space heater here, very small, lightweight, lots of fan settings, various heat settings, but you're only going to get a certain amount, somewhere no more than about 1,600 watts. Because it is working off your 15 amp plug system, you're only going to get a certain amount of watts. Now, if you want to convert that and understand why, volts times amps equals watts. So if your system's, whatever voltage supply, whatever your amperage supply, you times them and you get wattage. So if you're trying to calculate all that out to see where you're at, that's just a simple formula there. There were also conversions from the BTU to the watts. You'll see a pop-up come up and you'll see that conversion on the screen. Well, that's it for Tech Tips with Mike T. We'll see you next time.